morning, everybody. It's Brian. Hope you're doing well today. It's Friday, so wrapping up another week. Getting ready for the weekend. Hopefully, you've had a great trading week so far and looking forward to taking it easy for a couple of days this weekend. As always, if you've been struggling through this week and haven't had any clear direction and haven't really found that path, I encourage you to please take the weekend and formulate a plan. Because the only way things work out with the long term is if you've got a plan. I'm not going to beat that to death today, but it's just part of it. Without a plan, your results are always going to be random. Your entries are always going to be random. Your frustration is going to have peaks and valleys because you're going to go from euphoric to wringing your hands and pulling your hair out. Find a plan. And we talk about different ways to approach the market here. So go back through previous videos and use that to create your plan. But create a plan. All right. So without spending much time on that, let's go ahead and get into what's going on for the day. Kicking things off, a lot of news this morning in the Eurozone. But first things we've got this morning is Canadian news. We have Canadian GDP. So for those that are trading in forex, really not much to look at here coming into this morning as far as tradable opportunities, especially if we go over here looking through what's been happening in the market so far leading up to this moment right now. We've had some fairly active market, I guess I should say. There's really nothing here in looking through the currencies that we would watch and potentially trade. There's really nothing here that just jumps out saying, hey, this is significantly below the average range for this specific currency pair. And there are a couple that we see that are lower, but then when we go to the chart and we have a look at them, we can see they've been actually trading right together. So, we can sometimes see that the pound, maybe the pound CAD, it's moved 77 pips. This average is 120 to 150. But if we look at the pound CAD, the pound and the CAD have been trading in lockstep. They've been right with one another. Same with the US versus the CAD. They've been just trading right with one another. There's no real divergence there. So this morning, coming into the new session, looking at what news is coming up, obviously, first thing is there's just nothing that really jumps out. We do see those that do jump out as potential opportunities, but they're on a cross with a currency that's got news here in a few minutes. So long and short of that is let's wait and see what happens after the CAD news and see if we get some divergence from there. So looking at the pound CAD or the US versus the CAD and see if we get some nice divergence with the CAD either significantly strengthening against those two or significantly weakening against those, which might give us an opportunity to trade. But right out of the gate, I've got nothing. So we're going to pass on forex opportunities for right now. Now later in the morning, at the same time that occurs, we've got some other news, U.S. news coming up later in. So at 7:30 my time, 8:30 Eastern, we have personal spending and price index reports, core price index reports that come out here in the U.S. are listed as a medium impact report. And then that's followed by Chicago PMI and then revised consumer sentiment. They're medium impact reports, but just given current kind of conditions around the market, could be a little bit more impactful. These will occur, well, the first two, no, not even that. First one will occur before the U.S. session. The U.S. stock market session begins. The others are going to be during that. So might be a good idea this morning to even there hold off a little bit and wait as we get into talking about the futures market. Might be a good idea to get in and wait until that news happens and then see how the market's reacting to that and what it's doing from there. Yesterday was a pretty big day here in the markets. Let's bring this up. We talked about the fact that when we came into this yesterday, 4-hour bias was long, 30-minute bias was short. We said, hey, it's a mixed bias. We don't want to do anything. And then we talked about the fact that, it's okay to be counter trend, counter long-term trend if you want to look at sells, but always be aware that when you're looking at something that's counter to that higher time frame trend, it's like stepping in front of a moving train. And yesterday proved that to be pretty real as well. It broke down off of 3218, 3220 area. It did break down off of that, but then hit 3200, big whole number here, and just rallied straight up, straight through, just blew through some key areas there. So again, coming into this morning, we've got long bias on both of these. So today, we've been in kind of a holding pattern here for quite a few days in a row now. This is the first day that we've started the new session out where our 4-hour bias and our 30-minute bias are in agreement. So they're both looking at a long bias here. So this tells us, as of this moment, this tells us that we'd be looking for buying opportunities. So we'd want to see price do a couple of things. We could play breakouts. So you've got a high up here at 3270, which was established actually a couple days ago, a few days ago now, right? We got a high at 3270. We tested it over the off hours last night, and it's retraced off of that. But we could look at a breakout here. That's one spot to go. If we have a lot of momentum and break through 3270, that'd be a potential buying opportunity. I would prefer to look at things a little bit cheaper, or use the method that we've talked about before, which is to go down to a 30-minute or even a lower time frame and wait for this to make lower highs and lower lows. So wait for it to pull back, lower highs, lower lows, and then set your breakout at the top of that previously closed lower high. So the preferable trade would be to wait for it to pull back and then break out from there. If you're playing bounces, the next level down is this 3243, 3245 area. So if we do pull back down to here, that'd be a spot to look at for bounces off of that. Now the big caveat with all of this, right now we're looking at buying opportunities. We're looking for continued upward movement and looking at buy opportunities just simply based on the bias coming into the morning. Now keep in mind, there's news coming out today. A lot of the move yesterday, I don't even want to get into the whys, because the whys don't matter. They really don't matter. There is no why. It's speculative anyway. Let's just leave it at that. Bias tells us we've got a long bias, and that's what we're looking for. There is that potential catalyst, though, in the mix here, which is how the market reacts to the reports that are coming up. So we've got one report coming up here at 7:30 my time, so in about 24 minutes we have the first report coming out, and then 8:45 and then 9. We've got additional reports coming out, and how the market reacts to those will definitely play into what we continue to do for the day. So let's keep that in mind. But for right now, we've got a long bias coming in, and the thing that would drive it, the only thing that would really drive our change in sentiment would be if we had a big spike down and our moving average here crossed over, and if that crosses, then that's definitively telling us, hey, we've now got a mixed bias and we wouldn't trade it. So right now bias is long. We continue to look for long opportunities there. If you want to be counter trend, it's okay. If you want to look at that, like I said, I've always said before, and it's just the same with anything, whether you're going long or short. If you're trading with the trend or against the trend, it doesn't matter. Just be prepared to be wrong. Always trade with the stop loss. So if you're looking for counter trend trades, this top edge, man, 3270 is held pretty well. It's held up here, held again, held again, held again, held again. 3270, would be a spot to potentially sell off of if you're looking for a counter trend trade. Just be aware the train is moving, and it's moving up. So, you're stepping in front of the train if you're trading counter trend. But, if you're looking to call tops and bottoms, that would be a spot to potentially do it from. But the preferred approach is to trade with the trend, which is 4-hour bias is long, 30-minute bias is long. Look for long trading opportunities. All right, moving on to crude. Over here, we're flipping this over. Yesterday, saw some downward movement, and the 4-hour bias is flipped over now. So the 4-hour bias on crude is short, and the 30-minute bias on crude is now short. So this is flipped, and these are both in agreement. So we'd be looking for short trading opportunities on crude. We'd be looking to go short. So what does that mean to us? Well, 40, big number. It took a lot to break through it back here. Right, when it finally broke, 40 was tested a lot before it finally broke, and now we're back to retesting it. So, breakout, looking at short trading opportunities here, we'd be looking for either a break. So if we hit 40 and break below, that would be an opportunity to potentially sell off of if you're looking to trade with the current bias. So the 4-hour bias is short, 30-minute bias is short. Look for short opportunities. The other way to look at it would be exactly like we've talked before, which is waiting for a pullback. And one of the methods that we discuss here quite a bit is letting this pullback, making at this point higher lows and higher highs, right? Higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, and then placing your entry at the bottom of that previously closed lower high, and then letting it break through that. So a couple ways to go, but looking at potential short opportunities there. Again, news could drive this. If it looks like consumer spending is going up and there's opportunity to consume more oil in the future, maybe transportation starting to rebound and there's all this optimism, maybe that drives oil higher. But at this point, I think writing's on the wall. But at any rate, without sparing you my personal commentary, because it doesn't really matter, is we'd look to go short on oil from here. So looking at breaks of 40 would be that potential short opportunity, or utilizing that plan that we just talked about there. Okay, gold. Man, gold has just been on a tear. Gold cracked 2,000 last night for the first time in, God, how many years? Anyway, pushed above 2,000, trading at 1995 coming into right now. Gold is in an upward bias. So the 4-hour and the 30-minute both are long. What would we do there for long trading opportunities? Well, before the call started, I was going to tell you to look at bounces off of 1990, but that's already happened, so I can't talk about that. So what would we be looking for on gold? Well, I'd like to see a pullback. I mean, personally, I'd like to see it come back a little more to get a better entry. So, 1990, 1985 would be these potential pullback areas to watch for, and see what we can do off of gold. If you're looking at breakouts, look above 1997, 1998, but it may break that before we even get there, before the regular trading session begins. Which gold is you're able to trade this right now if you wanted to trade it. I don't think it's going to have a whole lot of impact. I think gold's going to keep cranking along, given uncertainty out there. So anyway, looking for breakouts would be 1998 or 2000. See if it breaks that, and then take it long from there. Or watching for pullbacks. Again, making those lower highs, lower lows, since we're in an upward bias. Lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, and then trail your entry point off the top of that previously closed lower high. I love that trading method. It's very efficient. You don't win every trade. Obviously, you might win. Historically, is into the 40+% area. Depending on how you manage your stops and everything, but 40% But that's very profitable. If you're looking at 3-to-1 on a 40% win rate, you're doing great over the long run. So. And that just comes back to basic math, guys. We've talked about that before. You don't have to have all these fancy systems and fancy processes. Just simply win more than you lose, and then have a decent win rate. That's your win rate can be actually pretty darn low, almost discouragingly low, and you can still have a positive outcome as long as you're using mathematical multipliers for your profit taking. But anyway. I know I've talked about that in previous videos. I'm not going to go down that path right now, but it's people get so hung up on winning all the time because it feels good to win. It really does. It feels great to win psychologically, emotionally. It feels really good to have win after win after win after win, but it's not sustainable. And really over the long term, if you're honest with yourself with most systems are about, well, it's coin flip, honestly. So having that process that allows you to win more than you lose just mathematically gives you that advantage that puts the odds in your favor over the long term. And think of terms in a casino, right? They don't worry about winning every hand or everything else. If they did, no one would go play there, right? But also, they know that the odds are in their favor over the long run, so they can afford to lose, hand after hand, and even have a whale come in and take big pots. They can afford it over the long term because they know they've got that advantage. We have to think of trading in the exact same way. Just, again, be prepared to lose, be prepared for it to go against you and stop you out and give you a loss, knowing that your system, your method, your mathematical probabilities give you that advantage over the long term. That's where staying the course really comes in. So anyway, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time beating that to death. S&P, going back over here, S&P, we've got long bias, both 30-minute and the 4-hour in agreement. So look for long opportunities on the S&P. Crude is short, so we'd be looking for crude short opportunities on crude, and gold is long, so we'd be looking for gold long opportunities on gold over here. Forex, not looking really for anything until we get through the news, the Canadian news this morning. So once we get through the CAD news today, oops, wrong one. Once we get through the CAD news today, that might give us some opportunity to see some divergence between the CAD and the pound or the US, so the pound CAD or the US CAD might give us opportunities there if we get a big impact from that Canadian news. Beyond that, everything else that I'm looking at here has really already moved most of its typical range. So with that, there's not really too much else to look at there. It really would come down to these currencies that have been trading lockstep with one another and see if we get a burst of divergence that would allow us to get in and then kind of ride that wave for a bit. Over on the crypto side of things, there's not a whole lot to really talk about over here. We've just been on a tear with crypto. It's been a beautiful long run. Ethereum's up here, in the 340s. Bitcoin's up here, pushing 1,100. Well, not pushing 1,100, 11,000. So not a whole lot to do with these. They are kind of coming to levels that could signal a pullback. This next major level up here in Bitcoin is right here at this 11,250 area, which it's already hit it a couple times and reversed off of it. So watching this level, this could be a spot where it struggled. So if it does that, looking for pullbacks back down here to 1,100 or even 10.8 would be opportunities if it pulls back to maybe buy off of. I'd like to see it pull back a little more if you're really waiting to get back in or to add to a position. You might even wait and see if it comes back down to 10.5, 10.4. There's been a lot of room with this big move here where it really hasn't come back to retest any of these key levels that were in between. It just burst through, and the same with Ethereum. It just burst through and just kept running. So at some point, I would expect to see a sell-off on both of these, which would bring it back down. ETH back down to 300, maybe even 285, 275, and same with Bitcoin, down to 10.5, 10.4 as potential opportunities to go long if and when it does pull back, and I think it will, but that obviously remains to be seen. So anyway, that's everything. We've hit it all. We've talked about forex. We've talked about futures. We've talked about crypto. Well, the two majors in crypto anyway. I do think there's opportunity coming up in some of the altcoins, which we had talked about previously. Especially as there's a bigger push to go to cards and trackable methods here in the U.S. and really around the world. I have a feeling that privacy coins like Monero are going to see increased activity, increased eyes on them, simply because people don't want everybody in their back pocket, right? If I want to, it's one of those longer term discussions around everything else that's going on. But I mean, holy shit, if we can't throw some cash here and there and do side wagers and pay kids at lemonade stands and all this stuff, I mean, people need to be in my freaking back pocket for everything. So I think privacy coins are going to see an increased level of interest here pretty soon, as more and more and more push is to go to cashless. And as that happens, I think you'll see more with that. Why privacy coins over just a regular Bitcoin or Ethereum? Because Bitcoin and Ethereum and most major tokens and coins are on a very public blockchain. That's very traceable. In fact, it's more traceable than anything. It's every step of what's going on. That's the beauty of blockchain. Is it allows things to move freely with very public checks and balances. But when you get to privacy coins, privacy tokens, that blockchain still exists, but it's on a private level. So it adds more anonymity to who's storing it and using it and whatnot, and how it's being used. So I think there's going to be a bigger interest there. But speculation down the road, we'll see where that goes. Big things for now: wait for the news. Let the news do what it's going to do. Let the market interpret the news, and then move with the market. I can't stress that enough. Move with the market. Don't keep fighting against it. I say it over and over and over. If you're stepping in front of a moving train, you'll probably get run over. Although there are times, if you know the train is slowing down and you can judge that distance and be far enough, away, so when it actually slows down, it doesn't just run you over. Maybe it pushes you back a couple of feet and then it reverses. It's okay to be counter trend, but just be prepared to be able to jump off the tracks if it does speed back up, right? So that's kind of the thing with trading right now. And I'm saying that more than anything, if you're jumping into ETH or jumping into Bitcoin right now and trying to short it, that's been a parabolic move up. It may move more, although it's kind of coming to levels where it looks like it may be a great spot for reversal, but it certainly could hit those and just keep moving, right? It's okay to look for that reversal, just be prepared to be wrong. S&P, NASDAQ, all of the, they're on this parabolic move up over the last, really over the last couple of months now. At this point, they've been moving crazy higher. And even yesterday, big move yesterday at the end of the day on earnings, on news. But we're coming to some key levels. It's okay to look for potential shorts off of that. Don't bet the farm. It's okay to watch those key levels, and maybe that's where the train kind of slows down and then begins to pull back, and you can capitalize on that. But if it just keeps going, be prepared to jump off the tracks and take your little bit of an injury, right? So anyway, that's it for now. I'm gonna leave it here and let you guys get back to it. Have a safe trading day. If we have trades, so if something, we talked about, all of these are giving us opportunities. So if we have some tradable opportunities based on the method that we've been talking about here, I will post them up. So if we have a trade today, I'll talk about that later on today. If not, have a great weekend. Take the time to work on your plan if you don't already have one. All right, have a great day. Bye.